Tiny challenges make a big difference. The surprising power of atomic habits. The fate of a British cycling changed one day in 2003. The organization, which was governing body of professional cycling in the Great Britain, had recently hired a Dave Bresford as the new performance director. At the end of a professional cyclist in Great Britain had endured nearly 100,000 years of mediocrity. Since 1908, British riders had won just a single gold medal at Olympic Games, and they had fared even worse in the cycling biggest race, the Tour de France. In 110 years, no British cyclists had ever won the event. The fact the performance of a British riders had been so overwhelmingly underwhelming that one of the top bike manufacturers in the Europe refused to sell the bikes to them because they were afraid it would hurt the sales. If the professionals saw the Brits using their gear, the Bresfold had been hired to put the British cycling on a new trajectory. What made him different from a previous coaches was his relentless commitment to the strategy he referred as a aggregation of marginal gains, which was philosophy of searching for a tiny margin of improvement in everything you do. The Brailsford said the whole principle came out from the idea that is, if you broke down everything you could think of goes into the riding a bike, then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together. The Breastfold and his coaches began by making small adjustments you might expect from a professional recycling team. They redesigned the bike seats to make them more comfortable, rubbed alcohol on the tires for a better grips. They asked riders to wear the electrically heated overshorts to maintain the ideal muscle temperature while riding and used biofeedback sensors to monitor how each athlete responded to the particular workout. The team tested the various fabrics in the wind tunnel and had the outdoor riders switch to the indoor racing suits, which proved to be lighter and more aerodynamic. But they didn't stop there. Belsford and his team continued to find 1% improvement in overlooked and unexpected areas. They tested the different types of massage gels to see which one led to the fastest muscle recovery. They hired a surgeon to teach each rider the best way to wash their hands to reduce the chances of catching a cold. They determined the type of a pillow, the mattresses that led to the best night's sleep for each rider. They even painted the inside of a team truck white, which helped them spot little bits of dust that would normally slip by unnoticed but could degrade the performance of a finely tuned bikes. As these and hundreds of other small improvements accumulated, the results came faster than anyone could have imagined. Just 5 years after the Brestful took over, the British cycling team is dominated the road as well as the truck cycling events in 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. They were won outstanding 60% of the gold medals available. 4 years later, when the Olympic Games came to the London, the Brits raised the bar as they set the 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. That same year, the Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France. The next year, his teammate Chris Froome won the race and he could go on the win again in 2015, 16 and 17, giving the British team the 5 Tour de France victories in 6 years. During the 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, the British cyclist won 178 World Championships and 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals and captured the 5 Tour de France victories in what is widely regarded as one of the most successful runs in cycling history. How does this happen? How does a team of a previously ordinary athletes transform the world champions with the tiny changes that at a glance would seem to make the modest difference at best? Why do the small improvements accumulate into such a remarkable results? And how can you replicate such an approach in your life? Why the small habits make a big difference? It is easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making the small improvements on a daily basis. Too often we convince ourselves that massive success requires a massive action, whether it is losing a weight, building business, writing a book, winning championship, or achieving any other goal. We put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvements that everyone will talk about. Meanwhile, improving by 1% isn't practically notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can far more meaningful, and especially in a long run, the difference a tiny improvement can make over a time is outstanding. And here it's how the math works out. If you get 1% better each day for 1 year, you will end up 37 times better than by the time you are done. And conversely, if you get 1% worse each day on a year, you will decline nearly to the zero. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into the something much more. Oh, this is a very practical graph which is given here of improvement as well as decline. The habits are the compound interest or self improvement. The same way that money multiplies through the compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make a little difference on any given day, yet impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when looking back to 5 or perhaps 10 years later that a value of a good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. This can be a difficult concept to appreciate in a daily life. We often dismiss the small changes because they don't seem to matter very much in the moment. If you save a little money now, you are still not multimillionaire. If you go to the gym 3 days in a row, you are still out of the shape. And if you study the Mandarin for an hour tonight, you still haven't learned the language. We make the few changes, but the results never seem to come quickly. So we slide back into the previous routines, and unfortunately, the slow pace transformation also makes it easy to let a bad habit slide. If you eat an unhealthy meal today, the scale doesn't move much. If you worked late tonight and ignore your family, they will forgive you. If you procrastinate and put your project off until tomorrow, there will usually a time to finish it later. A single decision is easy to dismiss, but when we repeat 1% errors day after day by replicating the poor decisions and duplicating tiny mistakes, radiating little excuses, and the small choices compounding the toxic results. It is the accumulation of many missteps, a 1% decline here and there, that eventually leads to a problem. The impact created by a change in your habit is similar to the effect of shifting the route of an airplane just by few degrees. Imagine you are flying from Los Angeles to the New York City. If a pilot leaving from the LAX adjusts the heading just by 3.5 degrees south, you will land in Washington DC instead of New York. Such a small change is barely noticeable as takeoff. The nose of an airplane moves just a few feet, but when the magnified across the entire US states, you will end up hundreds of miles apart. Similarly, a slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different destination. Making your choice that is 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in a moment, but over the span of moments that make up a life, these choices determine the difference between you and who you could be. The success is a product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformation. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path toward the success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than the current results. If you are a millionaire but you spend more than you earn each month,